So Hollow Knight Silksong has finally been released, and it's been taking the internet and Yuri artists by storm. However, despite all the glaze that this game has been getting, there is one thing that is bothering people about the game, and that is its difficulty as compared to Hollow Knight. More specifically, how much damage enemies do to you in this game. Health in Hollow Knight and Silksong is measured in masks. In Hollow Knight, most enemies would deal 1 mask of damage to you, with some rare instances of tougher enemies and bosses dealing 2 masks of damage to you. In Silksong, this has been flipped on its head entirely, where most enemies and bosses are going to be dealing 2 masks of damage to you. These enemies dealing this increased damage seems to be the most contentious part about this game's design, with many people believing this is an unnecessary change and that it artificially increases the difficulty of the game as compared to Hollow Knight. And I am here to shed the truth, the light on this subject, and tell you that you're just bad. Now, before you get mad, this isn't just me saying, yes, the difficulty is artificially increased by this increased damage, get over it and get better at the game. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is that the way that Hornet plays as a character is different from the Knight from Hollow Knight and necessitated this change in damage. To start with, Hornet is just so much more mobile than the Knight really ever was. Both Hornet and the Knight do have a short range dash they can use in the air and on the ground. However, Hornet can fully sprint on the ground for an unlimited amount of time, making her far more mobile and harder to catch up with. She is just so much faster than the Knight on a moment-to-moment basis, making her harder to actually hit for many of the enemies and bosses. With all of Hornet's crests, silk abilities, and tools, Hornet just has options both at close and long range that the Knight never really had. Hornet's tools, for example, are on an entirely separate gauge than her silk, meaning that Hornet actually has access to pretty powerful ranged attacks without actually having to sacrifice any silk. This is in contrast to the Knight, whose only ranged attack actually consumes soul to use. This change alone just makes Hornet so much more powerful and safer in combat. If you're low HP and you've already been whittling down the boss and you don't want to get in and you don't have enough silk to heal yourself, you can just throw some kunai out and finish off the enemy or the boss. They're powerful and they have a really good range. And again, this doesn't cost any silk to use, so you don't have to sacrifice your ability to heal to actually use these tools. You can run in on a tough fight and just absolutely dump all these tools onto an enemy that you don't feel like dealing with. Even when it comes to the abilities that Hornet needs to spend silk to use, they are extremely powerful and can easily clutch a fight for you or clear out a whole room of enemies. Hornet has access to a powerful ranged attack where she throws her spear straight ahead of her. She can perform an attack where she just does a big circle AoE around herself that hits multiple times. And probably best of all, she has access to a move where she can straight up just parry and turn that into a big counter attack that can hit multiple enemies at once. By the way, I'm pretty sure this parry activates on like frame 1, so that's an insanely nutso bonkers thing to even have in your arsenal. Between Hornet's mobility, tools, and silk abilities, she is an extremely powerful character who can fight you at almost any range and has an insane amount of dodging and weaving potential. But all of that pales in comparison to the true reason why enemies absolutely have to deal 2 masks of damage to even stand a chance against Hornet. And that has to do with the rate at which she can heal. I feel like nobody is discussing this when we're bringing up this topic. You can't just look at one game and look at the other and be like, oh, this similar mechanic is a little different. Therefore, it's a bad design decision. They shouldn't change it. I don't like it. No, you have to think with your fucking walnut, and you have to understand that maybe there's a reason behind the change. Maybe other mechanics that revolve around this change actually have an impact on this change, on why this occurred, why this happened. Now sit down, I'm about to present you with the cold hard scientific facts here. We're about to go into frame data. When the Knight heals himself, The first mask that he heals takes him 1.141 seconds to complete healing it. And if he continues holding down the heal button, every mask after the first one will take 0.891 seconds to complete healing. Meaning that it takes the knight a grand total of 2.923 seconds to complete a 3-mask heal. That's almost an entire second per mask healed. And remember, this time I'm presenting you is under the assumption that the knight is holding down the button and getting all 3 heals at once. If you do all 3 heals individually at different points, it's going to take you even longer. It's going to take you upwards of 3 seconds instead of a little under 3 seconds to actually heal those 3 masks. And the team cherry on top here is that the knight cannot heal while in the air. He must be on the ground in order to actually heal. However, whenever Hornet actually heals, Hornet heals 3 masks at once with one single heal. As soon as she completes a heal, she instantly gains 3 masks of health. She does not have to restore those masks individually. As soon as the heal is complete, all 3 masks are granted back to her immediately once the heal finishes. So after reviewing the footage and counting the frames on her heal, I have counted approximately 84 frames from beginning to end of her heal, translating to approximately 1.4 seconds. Do you know how much of a difference that is? 1.4 seconds as compared to 2.9 seconds. Hornet can heal the same amount of HP that the knight can in under half of the time. And that's not even where it ends, because she can heal in the fucking air! As long as you're paying attention to patterns and understanding what the enemies can actually do and where they can attack, you can pretty much just get free heals off while they're stuck in some other action by just jumping up into the air and going, I'm healed! The long and short of it is that Hornet is just so much more survivable than the knight ever was. It might not feel like that at times because you're punished a lot harder for your mistakes, but you're also rewarded a lot more for not making mistakes. There's been so many times in this game where I'm fighting a boss and I'm consistently getting down to 1 HP and then going back up to 4 and then back down to 1 and back up to 5 and back up to 2, and you know, it's just it's so much easier to actually come back from the brink than it is in Hollow Knight. I think Team Cherry did a really good job trying to make Hornet a different character from the knight. I think that's what we should be striving for. I don't want a sequel where I play as the same character and do the same exact things again. I just think that looking at the damage you take in Silksong versus Hollow Knight and then turning around and being like, well, the only reason it increased is because it's artificial difficulty. The developers are just out of their gourd, is just an extremely narrow way of thinking about this kind of decision. And I highly doubt them settling on the 2 damage approach is just because they wanted to increase the difficulty of the game for no reason at all. Rather, I think it's more likely they took a look at what Hornet could do versus the knight and saw it necessary to increase the damage based on those other design decisions they had made for the character and the gameplay. But anyway, that's going to be it for me today. Let me know if you think I'm off base in the comments. If you think I'm crazy, if you think I'm a nutcase, let me know in the comments. But I hope this discussion at least got you thinking. And I hope you enjoy Silksong. It's been a great game, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.